She's too weird to be a real artist. She's just copying Madonna. Why does she always have to be so controversial? Is she even talented? Or is it all just a gimmick? She'll never last in the industry. These are just a few of the comments thrown at Lady Gaga on social media over the years. But behind the noise, the drama, and the headlines, there's a woman with a story far more powerful than the rumors. A journey of pain, resilience, rebellion, and brilliance. And once you hear it, you'll never see her the same way again. Most people have no idea that Lady Gaga was dropped by her first record label after just 3 months. That she wrote hit songs for other artists like Britney Spears, Fergie, the Pussycat Dolls, and even New Kids on the Block before she was ever famous herself. That she dyed her hair blonde so people would stop comparing her to Amy Winehouse. That she purchased 55 pieces of Michael Jackson's iconic clothing and accessories to preserve and keep them archived in memory of the king of pop. That she has a massive fashion archive stored in climate-controlled conditions. All those wild outfits, from the meat dress to the bubble suit, are carefully preserved like art pieces. And most people have no idea that she suffers from fibromyalgia, a chronic muscle and nerve condition that forced her to cancel the final 10 shows of her 2018 tour due to excruciating pain. And very few people know that despite her fame, she privately battled burnout and deep emotional pain, and that she prays before every single performance. Despite all the shock and show, she has a deeply spiritual side. Stick around as we dive into the remarkable life of Lady Gaga. Before Lady Gaga ever existed, she was actually Stefani Germanotta. She was born on March the 28th, 1986 in New York City. She looked like a normal kid, but she was far from normal. She grew up in Manhattan's Upper West Side in New York in a typical Italian-American family. Her dad ran a small internet company and her mom worked in communications. At just 4 years old, she was already playing piano. But here's the crazy part. She was playing completely by ear. That means she could listen to something once and replay it. That's bloody insane. Her parents saw the gift early on and enrolled her in classical piano lessons, which she took seriously all the way into her teens. That classical foundation gave her the technical skill and discipline to write complex music and perform live with power and control. When she was 11, she got accepted into a prestigious prep program designed specifically for gifted young musicians, preparing them to enter one of the world's top performing art schools. But instead of enrolling her there, Stefani's parents chose a strict Catholic school where she continued to train in theater and music. But even there, Stefani stood out. Kids thought she was too dramatic, too theatrical, just too different. She was teased and bullied for not fitting in. But instead of crushing her, it lit a fire in her. Her parents recognized the passion she had and enrolled her in creative arts camps. Stefani performed constantly in school plays, open mic nights, small clubs, anywhere she could be heard. She wasn't chasing fame yet. She just wanted to express herself, to connect and be understood. She was a young girl writing songs in her bedroom, dreaming of the day the world would finally listen. At 17, Stefani earned admission into the Tisch School of the Arts, one of the most prestigious art schools in the world. There she studied songwriting, music theory, performance, and stagecraft. She trained alongside other talented artists and honed her skills as both a writer and a performer. But after just a year, she dropped out. She didn't want to learn about music. She wanted to actually live it. So she moved out, got a tiny apartment, and started playing gigs around New York City. It wasn't glamorous. She was performing in dive bars, tiny clubs, and even secretive underground burlesque shows, which were edgy, theatrical, striptease, and cabaret shows. But every night, she'd get on stage and sing like she was already a superstar, even if there were only a few people in the crowd. It was during this time that she was discovered by a music producer called Rob Fusari. He immediately saw her uniqueness and thought she had a similar vocal style to Freddie Mercury of Queen. Now this is wild. He texted her the name of one of Queen's songs titled Radio Gaga. But autocorrect on his phone changed the text to Lady Gaga. And when Stefani read it, she instantly loved it and adopted it as her stage name.
I got it from the Queen song Radio Gaga. My producer Rob used to call me Gaga in the studio because he said I was so over the top and theatrical, and I just kept the name.
Because to her, it sounded bold, theatrical, and memorable. She later said that Lady Gaga became more than just a name. It became a character she could step into, a larger-than-life version of herself that gave her the freedom to be fearless, creative, and unapologetically bold. But no one, not even Gaga herself, could imagine just how quickly her life was about to explode. The turning point in her career came in 2008 when she released her first album, The Fame. The lead single from that album was called Just Dance, and within a few months, it took off like a rocket. Clubs were spinning it non-stop, radio stations couldn't get enough of it, and people everywhere were asking, who is this Gaga? And then came Poker Face. That track didn't just climb the charts, it smashed them. It hit #1 in over 20 countries. Just like that, Gaga wasn't a struggling artist anymore. She was a global sensation. But it wasn't just her music that turned heads. It was everything about her. The fashion, the attitude, the message. She walked red carpets in bubble dresses, wore lightning bolts on her face, and then there was that meat dress. Every move she made was a statement. She blurred the line between pop star and performance artist. People didn't just listen to Gaga, they watched her. Every appearance was a show. Every outfit had meaning. Every performance felt like a piece of theater. And here's the thing, beneath the shock and spectacle, there was always substance. She wasn't just being weird to be weird. Gaga used her platform to speak about things that mattered. Being different, being misunderstood, being proud of who you are. She gave a voice to millions of people who felt like outsiders. Her message was clear. You were born this way. That's how she became more than just a pop star. She became a cultural icon. Someone who didn't just entertain, but inspired. Someone who broke the mold and gave permission for others to break it too. And from that point on, there was no turning back. Lady Gaga didn't just rise, she shattered expectations. With 13 Grammys, 2 Golden Globes, an Oscar, a BAFTA, and over 170 million records sold, she proved she wasn't just an artist, she was a force. In 2019, she made history as the first woman ever to win an Oscar, Grammy, BAFTA, and Golden Globe in the same year. Shallow earned her the Academy Award, and A Star Is Born cemented her as a powerhouse in film and music. Her story is no longer about being doubted. It's about being unstoppable. But even at the height of her fame, everything wasn't as perfect as it seemed. Behind the flashing lights and bold performances, Gaga was battling something invisible, something that nearly broke her: chronic pain. In 2013, during her Born This Way Ball tour, Gaga suffered a serious hip injury. She had a labral tear that left her barely able to walk. The pain was so intense, she had to cancel the rest of the tour and undergo surgery. Fans were devastated, and so was she. But the physical pain was just one part of it. Gaga also opened up about her struggles with mental health. she revealed that she was living with PTSD, a result of a traumatic experience she went through at 19 after being sexually assaulted by someone she trusted in the industry.
They didn't stop asking me, and then I just froze and I don't even remember.
She kept it hidden for years, but eventually she spoke out, not for attention, but to help others feel less alone. She started to use her platform in a different way. In 2016, she co-founded the Born This Way Foundation with her mother, focused on supporting young people's mental health and emotional well-being. It wasn't just about music anymore. It was about healing, community, and change. Gaga showed the world that strength isn't about pretending everything's fine. It's about being real, about speaking up even when your voice shakes, about falling apart and rebuilding yourself with even more fire. She went from pop star to warrior. There was one moment, one powerful, unforgettable moment when Lady Gaga broke down in front of millions of people. It was the 2016 Oscars. Gaga took the stage to perform Till It Happens to You, a haunting song she co-wrote for a documentary about campus sexual assault. But this wasn't just another performance. This was deeply personal. As she stood at the piano, spotlights lit the stage behind her, and out walked dozens of sexual assault survivors, men and women, each one holding hands and showing messages like "It happened to me," "Survivor," and "Unbreakable." Gaga's voice was strong, but her eyes were full of pain. You could feel it. This wasn't a pop star in costume. This was Stefani, the girl underneath it all, standing in her truth. And by the end of the song, she was in tears. So was the audience. So was the world. That moment hit differently. It wasn't about fame or awards. It was about courage, about turning pain into power, about giving voice to the voiceless. And in that raw, honest moment, Lady Gaga reminded everyone watching she wasn't just a performer, she was a survivor. For all her fame and success, Lady Gaga has said that her lowest moment didn't happen on stage. It happened when the spotlight was off. After years of pushing through pain, both emotional and physical, Gaga hit a wall. Around 2018, in the middle of what should have been a peak in her career, she began to feel completely numb. Despite the Grammys, the red carpets, the cheering fans, she didn't feel anything. She described it in interviews as waking up every day in pain, both in her body and in her mind. The fame, the pressure, the trauma, it had all piled up. She felt isolated, empty. At one point, she admitted she didn't want to be alive anymore. That was rock bottom. So how did she survive it? She stopped pretending. She surrounded herself with people she trusted. She leaned on therapy, on medication, on her family, and on her team. She started being brutally honest, publicly and privately, about her struggles with PTSD, depression, and chronic pain. And she began focusing on healing, not just performing. Her 2020 album, Chromatica, was born from that healing process. It wasn't just music. It was her way of processing trauma, dancing through the pain, and turning darkness into art. And most importantly, she realized that survival wasn't about being strong all the time. It was about being real, about asking for help, about saying, "I'm not okay right now," and knowing that's okay. That's how she made it through, not as Lady Gaga the superstar, but as Stefani the human. Through everything, fame, pain, triumph, and heartbreak, Lady Gaga has carried one message to her fans, louder than any lyric: be who you are, completely, unapologetically, even if it hurts, especially if it hurts. She's never tried to be perfect. In fact, she's built her entire career on being imperfect on purpose. Whether it was showing up in wild, unexplainable fashion, or standing on stage with her voice shaking as she talked about mental health, Gaga made it okay to be vulnerable, to be loud, to be weird, to be real. Her anthem, Born This Way, wasn't just a pop song. It was a battle cry, a message to anyone who's ever felt different, unloved, invisible, or broken. She made people feel seen. She gave them words for what they felt but couldn't say. Gaga told her fans, I want you to forget the pain of being you. I want you to love yourself fiercely. And if you can't yet, that's okay. I'll love you until you can. Whether you're struggling with your identity, your body, your past, or your worth, she's been there. She knows that survival doesn't always look glamorous. Sometimes it looks like dragging yourself out of bed. Sometimes it looks like saying no, or finally saying yes to yourself. And in doing that for herself, she gave millions of people permission to do the same. That's Lady Gaga's real legacy. Not just the awards, the outfits, or the records, but the permission she gave the world to be raw, to be wild, and to be enough. The little monsters, that's what Lady Gaga lovingly calls her fans. But it's more than just a nickname. It's a movement, a family, a safe space. She gave them that name to honor their boldness, their weirdness, their courage to be exactly who they are. Just like her, they didn't always fit in. They were often misunderstood, judged, or pushed aside. And Gaga embraced them, not just as fans, but as part of her. She's Mother Monster, and they are her little monsters. It started early in her career when fans began showing up in wild makeup and homemade costumes inspired by her. Instead of brushing it off, Gaga celebrated it. She told them they were beautiful because they were different, not in spite of it. She once said, when they yell at you on the street, call you a freak or a loser, don't listen to them. Just remember, you're a little monster, and that means you're special. Over time, the bond between Gaga and her fan base became one of the strongest in pop culture. Her concerts feel more like community rallies than performances. Her fans don't just cheer her on, they protect her, support her, and mirror the same fierce loyalty she gives them. The little monsters helped build Lady Gaga's career, but in return, she gave them something even more powerful: a sense of belonging. There was a time when Lady Gaga almost walked away from music altogether. The pressures of fame, the physical pain from fibromyalgia, and the emotional toll of depression had her questioning everything. She felt disconnected from the music that once gave her life. And then came a turning point. In 2016, actor Bradley Cooper approached her about a role in a film he was directing and starring in. A Star is Born. He saw something in Gaga that she was beginning to forget about herself. A raw, authentic talent that could transcend music and light up the screen. Gaga took the leap, and it reignited her passion for performing. She poured her heart and soul into the character of Ali. And in 2018, A Star is Born hit theaters. The film was a massive success, earning Gaga an Academy Award nomination for Best Actress and winning her the Oscar for Best Original Song with Shallow.
And the Oscar goes to Lady Gaga, Mark Ronson, Anthony Rosamondo, and Andrew Wyatt.
But more than the awards, it reminded her and the world of the transformative power of art and the magic that happens when you follow your passion. So what wisdom and inspiration can we pull from Lady Gaga's life? Here are 3 powerful takeaways. Number 1, own your difference. It's your superpower. Gaga was mocked, misunderstood, and called too much. But she leaned into what made her different, and that's exactly what made her unforgettable. Number 2, pain doesn't disqualify you. It can define your strength. Whether it was chronic illness, trauma, or depression, Gaga didn't hide her struggles. She used them to connect, to create, and to lead others out of the dark. And finally, number 3, reinvent yourself fearlessly. From dive bars to Oscars, from pop stardom to dramatic acting, Gaga shows that you don't have to stay in one lane. Growth means daring to evolve, even when the world doesn't get it yet. Lady Gaga didn't just survive, she transformed, and in doing so, gave millions the courage to do the same. She didn't just find her voice, she inspired others to discover theirs.